The deep black of space was calm, colder than any place anyone on Earth had ever known. For a long time, nothing stirred out there, but far beyond the orbit of Mars, something huge was moving. A giant armada of ships, dark and silent, slicing through the stars. They moved like a shadow, smooth and steady, as if they had been traveling forever to reach this moment. Inside the largest ship, everything was quiet but tense. No sound of laughter or chatter, only the soft hum of machines and the steady footsteps of soldiers walking through long corridors. They were ready. They had trained for years for this moment, to arrive at Earth and take control of a planet that was still unknown to them. A planet they saw as weak and easy to conquer. The leader of the Armada stood on a high platform inside the command center, staring at a giant screen showing a blue and green marble floating in space. Earth. It looked small and fragile from this distance, but that made it even more tempting. The leader was calm but confident. They believed this would be the easiest victory they had ever won. The ships around them were enormous, each like a floating city filled with weapons, soldiers, and machines designed for war. The Armada had traveled many light years to get here, crossing galaxies and surviving dangers no one could imagine. But none of that mattered now. What mattered was the moment of arrival, the moment to strike. The ships began to slow down as they reached the edge of Earth's atmosphere. The leader gave orders, and all the soldiers prepared for the invasion. They had studied Earth for years, learning about its people, its culture, its technology. They saw a world full of chaos, countries fighting each other, people divided by language, religion, and politics. It was the perfect target for an invasion. From their point of view, Earth was weak and easy to control. There were no signs of strong defenses, no large space weapons, no sign that Earth was ready for a fight. The Armada believed they had the advantage. They believed the invasion would be quick, but Earth had something they did not expect. Something no one could have predicted. As the ships moved closer, the aliens looked down on the planet. The cities sparkled with lights in the night. People were walking in the streets, going about their daily lives. Cars moved slowly through busy roads. Children laughed and played in parks. People were living their lives unaware that a huge alien force was watching them from above. But then something strange happened. The alien sensors, designed to detect any sign of resistance, found nothing. No sounds of alarms, no signs of fighter jets or missiles being launched into space, no efforts to defend the planet. It was as if Earth was sleeping, completely calm and unaware. The leader of the Armada felt a cold knot of doubt inside. "Why is there no resistance?" the leader asked quietly, almost to themselves. It did not make sense. They had expected fear, chaos, war. But there was nothing. A decision was made. Instead of immediately attacking, they sent a small probe down to Earth. A small ship, fast and quiet, sent to gather information from close up, to learn more about this strange planet that seemed so peaceful. The probe moved through the atmosphere, passing over forests, mountains, oceans, and cities. It sent back images and sounds to the Armada. What the aliens saw shocked them. People were not afraid. They were not running or hiding. They were calm and happy. In some places, groups of people sat quietly, eyes closed, as if they were thinking deeply or meditating. The probe moved into a busy city street. People walked by, smiling and chatting. Some looked up at the sky and waved at the probe. It was as if they could see the probe and were not scared of it at all. In fact, some people seemed to be talking to something invisible, something the aliens could not see or understand. This confused the aliens. They had expected to see weapons, armies, something that would fight back. But instead they saw peace. They saw joy. They saw people who were connected in a way they could not explain. The leader ordered the probe to move closer to a large gathering of people. The probe's cameras recorded everything. The people were holding hands and humming softly. Their faces showed calmness and love, not fear or anger. It was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Back on the Armada's largest ship, the soldiers and commanders watched the live feed in disbelief. Some shook their heads. Some whispered questions they could not answer. What was this? How could a planet so full of life have no weapons ready to fight an invasion? Then the first strange thing happened. Suddenly, the Armada's systems began to glitch. Lights flickered. Screens went blank. The smooth hum of the machines changed into strange noises, buzzing, whirring, and distant voices no one understood. Some soldiers clutched their heads, confused and frightened. A few even collapsed, unable to control their own minds. The leader looked around the room, worried. "What is happening?" they demanded. "Is this an attack? A virus? Tell me." But no one had an answer. The technology that had carried them across space was failing. Their ships, so strong and powerful, were suddenly weak and confused. The leader decided to send a team outside the ship to see if something in space was causing the problem. A small group of soldiers floated outside in special suits, moving carefully through the cold darkness. But they found nothing. No enemy ships, no strange signals, only the quiet stars. Back inside, the problems got worse. More soldiers fainted. Machines stopped working. The entire Armada was slowly losing control. Then, the leader realized something frightening. Maybe it wasn't technology that was causing the problem. Maybe it was the people of Earth. Maybe this peaceful planet was protecting itself, not with weapons, but with something else. The idea was almost impossible. How could a planet defend itself with no armies or spaceships? But the evidence was clear. The aliens had never faced anything like this. The calm, the peace, the connection they had seen on Earth. It was more powerful than any weapon, and it was terrifying. The leader called an emergency meeting with all commanders. They debated their options. Should they attack anyway? Should they try to communicate? Should they retreat and leave Earth alone? But the leader knew the truth. They could not win a battle they did not understand. They were facing something beyond their technology, beyond their weapons, something that touched their minds and hearts. The Armada stayed in orbit for a while longer, trying to recover control, but the strange feeling never left. The fear grew. What had they gotten themselves into? Then the leader gave the order no one wanted to hear. Prepare to withdraw. We will leave Earth alone. Mark, this planet is dangerous. Never come back. The soldiers were confused. Some were angry. But the leader was firm. This was not a defeat in battle. This was something different. This was respect, fear, wonder. As the ship slowly moved away from Earth, the people below continued their lives, unaware of how close they had come to a great danger. The stars watched silently, the mystery of Earth's power remaining safe for now. And far away in the quiet of space, the Armada disappeared into the darkness, never to return. When the alien Armada first arrived near Earth, their technology was ready to detect anything: missiles, fighter jets, defense systems. But what they found was silence. It was strange, almost impossible. The invaders expected to see panic and preparation, but there was nothing. No alarms, no explosions, no movement in the sky that suggested anyone was aware of the danger above them. The Armada's commanders exchanged uneasy looks. Their advanced scanners searched again and again, but all they found was peace. It was so unusual that some began to suspect their instruments were broken. But the instruments were fine. It was the planet below that was different. To understand this silence, the leader of the Armada sent a small reconnaissance ship, a probe, to fly low over a large city on Earth. The probe's cameras showed images of people going about their daily lives. Men and women walked on busy streets, chatting and smiling. Children played in parks, laughing without a care. No one seemed to notice the probe as it moved closer. What the aliens did notice was something unexpected. The people they saw didn't look scared or worried. They looked calm, peaceful, almost happy. This was strange for the aliens, who had seen many worlds where fear ruled in the face of danger. The probe hovered above a crowd gathered in a public square. The people held hands and closed their eyes. They were silent but connected, as if sharing a common thought or feeling. Some hummed quietly, and their faces were soft and relaxed. It was a scene the aliens could not understand. What was this? Why did these people respond with calm, not fear? The aliens sent back all the information to their command center. The soldiers and leaders stared at the screens, confused and unsure. They had prepared for war, but now it looked like they were facing something completely different. Something peaceful, something powerful. Suddenly, strange things began to happen on the alien ships. Systems that had always worked perfectly started to fail. Screens flickered, communication lines went dead, and engines stuttered. The soldiers felt dizzy and disoriented. A few even collapsed, holding their heads in pain. It was as if an invisible force was attacking their minds. The leader of the Armada was alarmed. What is causing this? The leader asked sharply. Is this some kind of weapon? An electronic virus? But none of the experts could find a cause. The ship's defenses were designed to protect against attacks, but this was different. It was not a physical attack. It was something new. The leader decided to send a small team outside the main ship to look for anything unusual in space that could explain the strange events. The team floated in their suits, carefully scanning the empty darkness. But they found nothing. No enemy ships, no hidden dangers, only stars. Back inside, the strange effects got worse. More soldiers fainted. More systems failed. The Armada was losing control, slowly but surely. Then the leader realized the truth. It wasn't a virus. It wasn't a weapon. It was the people of Earth. The leader and the commanders had assumed Earth's people were weak because they had no big armies or space weapons. But now they saw something different. They saw a force they could not fight, the power of human connection and peace. The people on Earth had come together in a way the aliens had never seen. They were united not by weapons, but by something invisible, a deep shared energy that connected them all. This energy was strong enough to reach into the minds of the invaders and disrupt their thoughts, their memories, even their feelings. The leader tried to understand. How can this be? How can a planet defend itself without weapons? The answer became clearer with time. The more the aliens stayed near Earth, the more they felt this strange power growing stronger. The humans were not just connected to each other. They were connected to their planet. The Earth itself was alive in a way the aliens had never imagined. This connection was like a shield, one that could not be seen or touched but was real and powerful. It made the aliens' own thoughts turn against them. It showed them images of kindness and love, things they had forgotten in their years of war and conquest. It made them feel emotions they did not understand: hope, joy, peace. The aliens began to panic. Their machines failed, their minds weakened. They had expected a quick victory, but now they were trapped in a battle they could not win. Some soldiers became confused and afraid. They started arguing among themselves. Memories from their past flooded back, memories of their own families, their own pain and loss. The energy from Earth made these memories more vivid and harder to ignore. For the first time, many soldiers questioned why they were fighting. The leader gathered the commanders again. They needed to make a decision fast. Should they attack anyway? Should they try to communicate with Earth? Or should they retreat? The leader thought about everything they had seen and felt. The answer was clear: they could not win. This was not a fight of weapons and battleships. This was a fight of minds and hearts. The aliens decided to retreat. They gave the order to pull back and leave Earth alone. The ship slowly moved away from Earth's atmosphere. The strange feelings began to fade. The soldiers recovered, but their minds were forever changed. Back on Earth, people continued their lives. They did not know about the alien armada or the strange battle that had taken place above their heads. They did not know how close they had come to an invasion, or how their peace had saved them. But something had changed on Earth too. The connection between people grew stronger. The quiet energy that protected the planet became a part of their daily lives. People learned to listen to each other more. They shared kindness and hope. Even when the world seemed difficult, the story of the Armada's approach and terrifying retreat became a secret between the stars, a reminder that peace and connection could be the strongest weapons of all. The alien Armada had expected Earth to fight back with weapons, missiles, and armies. But what they found was very different. The people of Earth did not respond with fear or violence. Instead, they seemed calm and peaceful. The aliens couldn't understand this at first. But soon they realized there was something strange happening, something they had never seen before. The probe that had been sent to Earth kept sending back surprising information. As it moved through cities and towns, it noticed people behaving in ways the aliens did not expect. Groups of people were sitting quietly together, holding hands or closing their eyes as if they were sharing thoughts without speaking. Some were walking alone in parks, smiling softly, or looking up at the sky with peaceful expressions. The probe's sensors also detected something unusual in the air. It wasn't a sound or a light, but something different. A kind of energy or feeling that seemed to spread from person to person, growing stronger the more people connected with each other. Back on the alien ships, this invisible energy began to affect the crew in strange ways. Some started to feel emotions they had never felt before: calmness, love, hope. Others were confused as memories from their own past returned unexpectedly. For many, these feelings were overwhelming. Some soldiers who had once been strong and brave now doubted their mission. They questioned why they were invading a planet where people seemed so peaceful. The connection between Earth's people was something the aliens could not break or understand. It was like a shield made of feelings and thoughts. The leader of the Armada called for a meeting. "What is happening to our people?" the leader asked. "Why do they feel so weak and confused?" "This is not the war we planned." The commanders looked at each other nervously. They had no answers. Their technology was failing. Their soldiers were losing focus. The Armada was slowly losing control. The energy coming from Earth was more powerful than any weapon. It was not a weapon made of metal or fire. It was a force made of connection, of unity, of the simple power of being together. The leader decided to send out another small team. This time, it was a group of scientists and explorers, not soldiers. Their mission was to understand this strange power. Maybe if they could learn how it worked, they could find a way to defeat it. The team landed quietly in a large city. They wore special suits to protect themselves from anything harmful. But they soon realized the power was not harmful. It was gentle, peaceful. It was like a warm light touching their hearts. The team tried to communicate with the people. At first, the humans were surprised but did not react with fear. They welcomed the visitors with kindness. They spoke softly, explaining how their connection was built on caring for one another and for the planet. The scientists felt their minds opening. They began to see things differently. They saw how people shared their feelings without speaking, how they helped each other in times of trouble, and how they believed in hope even when times were hard. The humans explained that this connection was not just between people. It was between all living things on Earth. The trees, the animals, the rivers, the mountains. Everything was connected in a great web of life. The scientists shared what they had learned with the Armada. But many soldiers and commanders refused to believe it. They wanted to fight. They wanted to conquer. The leader was caught in the middle. The evidence was clear. The power of Earth was real and strong. But the army was still trained for war. Some believed they should attack before it was too late. The leader knew that a battle would be devastating. The Armada had already suffered from this invisible power. More fighting would only bring more damage to both sides. Finally, the leader made a difficult decision. The Armada would not attack Earth. Instead, they would leave and find another place to conquer. The soldiers prepared their ships for departure. Many were sad and confused. They had trained for years to win battles, but now they faced a defeat unlike any other. As the ships left Earth's orbit, the peaceful energy remained strong below. The people of Earth continued their lives, unaware of the visitors who had come and gone, but the story of the Armada's arrival and retreat became a secret memory in the stars, a story of how peace and connection could protect a planet better than any weapon. And somewhere, far from Earth, the Armada learned a new lesson. Sometimes the greatest power is not force, but the invisible bonds that connect us all. The alien Armada had never faced anything like Earth before. As they hovered in space trying to understand what made this planet so different, they discovered something incredible. It wasn't just the people, the cities, or the technology. It was something deeper, something invisible but powerful that connected every living thing on Earth. The aliens called it a global consciousness, but what it really was the planet itself, coming alive. Earth was not just a place with land, water, and air. It was a living, breathing whole where every person, animal, tree, and even the soil and rivers were linked together in a giant network of energy and feeling. This connection had been growing quietly for many years. People all over the world were beginning to understand this power in different ways. Some called it spirit, others called it nature's voice, some called it love or hope. But whatever the name, it was real, and it was strong. The alien commanders watched as more and more people took part in this connection. They saw crowds gathering in parks, schools, and homes, not to fight but to listen, to share, and to care for one another. They saw moments when strangers helped each other, when people forgave, when they shared what little they had. This was a force the aliens could not fight with weapons. It was a force that touched the heart and mind, reaching out to anyone open enough to feel it. The Armada's own minds began to be affected. They experienced strange feelings, emotions they had long forgotten. sadness for pain they had caused in other worlds, joy at the beauty of Earth's people, confusion as they struggled to understand these new feelings. This connection made the soldiers remember things they had tried to forget, their families, their homes, times when they had been happy. For many it was overwhelming. They began to question their mission, their purpose, even their identity. The alien leader tried to stay strong, but even the leader could not escape the growing power of Earth's global consciousness. It was like a tide, pulling everyone deeper into thoughts and emotions they could not control. The Armada sent out scouts to learn more, but each scout returned changed. They spoke of strange dreams and visions, images of Earth's beauty, of people helping each other, of a world where fear and hate were replaced by hope and peace. The commanders realized that this was no ordinary battle. This was a war of minds and hearts, and they were losing. But the global consciousness was not only about feelings. It was about action too. It inspired people to care for their planet, and for each other in new ways. People planted trees, cleaned rivers, helped neighbors, and shared food with strangers. It was a movement that grew every day. The alien Armada saw that this connection gave Earth a strength no weapon could break. It was a shield made of kindness and understanding. The leaders debated what to do. Some wanted to fight harder, to destroy this connection and conquer the planet, but others feared the consequences. They knew that destroying the global consciousness could destroy Earth itself. The leader made a choice. They would not attack. Instead, they would retreat and leave Earth alone. As the Armada began to withdraw, something remarkable happened. The people of Earth, without knowing it, had sent a message. Their connection, their love for their planet, was a warning and an invitation. It told the aliens that Earth was not a place to conquer, but a place to respect. The alien ships left quietly, carrying with them the memory of a planet that was alive in a way they had never imagined. Back on Earth, life went on. People continued to connect with each other and with their planet. The global consciousness grew stronger. It became a part of everyday life, an invisible force guiding people to be kinder, to care more, to hope for a better future. This was Earth's true power. Not its weapons or its technology, but its heart, and far away in the cold darkness of space, the alien Armada remembered the planet that had shown them a different way, a way of peace, connection, and life. After the alien Armada had begun their slow retreat from Earth's orbit, a quiet stillness returned to the planet. Life continued as it always did, but something had changed deep beneath the surface. The invisible connection that bound people together, the global consciousness, had grown stronger. It was like a secret power, hidden in plain sight, shaping how people lived, how they felt, and how they treated each other. People on Earth didn't know about the aliens who had come and left, but their lives were touched in small ways. It was in the way neighbors helped each other without being asked. It was in the kindness shown to strangers on the street. It was in the quiet moments when someone reached out to comfort a friend in need. This power wasn't loud or obvious. It wasn't a weapon or a machine. It was something soft, gentle, and real. It was hope. Across the planet, people started to notice this change. In cities, towns, and villages, small groups gathered, not to protest or argue, but to share ideas and dreams. They talked about how to make their communities better. They found ways to solve problems by listening to each other instead of fighting. Schools began teaching children not just about math and science, but about empathy and kindness. Parents learned to show patience and understanding, even when times were tough. Workplaces became places where respect and care mattered as much as results. The natural world, too, felt this growing love. Trees were planted in places that had been empty. Rivers were cleaned and animals were protected. People realized that the Earth was not just a place to live. It was a living home that needed care and respect. This movement of connection and care spread quickly, like a wave that no one could stop. And it wasn't limited to just humans. Animals seemed to respond too. Birds sang louder, flowers bloomed brighter, and the air felt fresher. The world was changing, not because of new machines or weapons, but because of the way people were coming together. In the far reaches of space, the alien Armada had not forgotten Earth. Their ships traveled back to their home, but their minds were full of questions. They wondered about the strange planet that had refused to fight. They wondered about the invisible force that had made their machines fail and their minds tremble. Some of the aliens began to study Earth from afar. They watched as the people cared for their planet and for each other. They saw how the global consciousness grew, spreading hope and peace. The aliens began to understand something important. Power did not come from strength or weapons. Power came from connection, from love, from the will to live in peace. This lesson was new to them. It changed the way they thought about their own world. They wondered if they could bring this idea home to their own people. Back on Earth, the story of the Armada was never told openly. It remained a quiet secret hidden in the stars, but the message of peace and connection lived on in the hearts of people everywhere. And slowly, day by day, the world became a better place. Not because of battles won or enemies defeated, but because people chose to come together and care. The invasion that never happened became a story of hope. A story that reminded everyone that sometimes the greatest strength is kindness, the greatest power is peace, and the greatest victory is the choice to love even when fear tries to take over. As time passed after the alien Armada's retreat, Earth seemed quieter, but in truth it was alive with a new kind of energy. The planet was not just a place where people lived. It had become a place where people grew together, connected by something invisible yet powerful. This connection was not about machines or weapons, but about hearts and minds joining in hope and peace. People began to notice small changes in their daily lives. Neighbors who barely spoke before now smiled and helped each other. Strangers stopped to lend a hand or share a kind word. These small acts of kindness spread quickly, creating a ripple that touched many lives. In schools, teachers encouraged students to think about more than just books and tests. They talked about feelings, about understanding others, about how important it was to work together. Children learned that being kind was a strength, not a weakness. Communities started to gather regularly, not for protests or fights, but for conversations. They talked about how to care for their neighborhoods, their cities, and their planet. People shared stories of hope, forgiveness, and change. These gatherings created bonds that were stronger than ever before. The natural world seemed to respond too. Trees grew taller, rivers ran clearer, and animals returned to places where they had once disappeared. The earth itself seemed to breathe easier, cleaner, as if it was happy to be cared for again. Far beyond Earth, the alien Armada was not forgotten. The stories of their arrival and retreat became lessons not just for Earth, but for those aliens who watched from afar. Many among them began to ask new questions about their own lives. They wondered if their worlds could also change, if they too could find a way to connect and care instead of fight and conquer. Some aliens tried to reach out, sending messages of peace toward Earth, hoping to learn more about the power that had stopped their invasion. They watched as Earth's people continued to grow in kindness and unity, learning that true strength came not from force but from understanding. Back on Earth, people did not need to know about the aliens to feel the change inside themselves. They simply lived their lives with more care, more patience, and more love. They learned that even in difficult times, hope could be found in simple moments, helping a neighbor, planting a tree, sharing a meal, or just listening. This invisible power that connected everyone became a guiding light, reminding people that they were not alone. No matter where they were in the world, they were part of something bigger, a great web of life that linked hearts and minds across every distance. The story of the Armada's visit became a quiet legend, a secret reminder that peace and connection are the greatest defenses of all, that sometimes the scariest moments can lead to the most beautiful changes, and that in a universe full of stars and possibilities, love and kindness are the strongest forces there are. And so, life on Earth moved forward, not as a place waiting for war, but as a world ready to heal, to grow, and to shine with the light of human connection. The Armada never returned, but the lesson they left behind remained, forever a part of Earth's story, a story written not with weapons or battles, but with the simple, powerful choice to care.